Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So I was going through my Ascot eye catchers and thoughts, and I initially thought I was going to do one video over the 5 days talking about different horses, but actually there was so much good racing and eye catchers that I think I'm going to do one per day for each of the days. So there's going to be 5 videos available in the next few days of horses that I think could be interesting going forward, where I think they should run, why I think they're interesting. We'll look at all of the races, and if there's nothing that really caught my eye, we'll just quickly move on to the next one. So we will start off with the Queen Anne Stakes, won by Charon. The two French horses disappointed. They both ran over the far side on their own, or with each other. Big Rock and Factor Cheval probably did need the softer ground. I thought Charon got everything just fell into his lap. He had a lovely toe through from Audience. He was clearly just the best group horse in the race. And I think there was a couple of handicappers that ran on nicely. Docklands and Witch Hunter being the handicappers. Maljoom just looks like he's very frustrating. Probably not going to win a Group 1. Might find a Group 2 or Group 3 somewhere. Just looks very tricky to get right and to get their timings right on Maljoom. But as I said, with about 2 furlongs to go, Charon's in about 4th or 5th. Chasing Audience, the two French horses over the far side on their own. Docklands, Maljoom and Witch Hunter are the last 3 in the race. So I think there's been a bit of a pace collapse at the front. Charon is, just because Charon is a group horse, a proper group horse, not necessarily a Group 1, although he's now won a Group 1. He's a proper group horse. He was able to stick with Audience and go past Audience once Audience had given up, had given all of his effort, whilst the handicappers then picked up strongly late on. So the eye catcher for me, or the one that was given the worst ride, in my opinion, was actually Audience. The French horses over the far side got themselves into all sorts of trouble by going over there on their own. Rab Havlin, for some reason, decided he really wanted to keep an eye on those, and he tried, once they started trying to kick, he also went for home. But that was about 3 furlongs out that he went, yep, I'm going on Audience. And, I mean, it wasn't a surprise to see Audience fall away late on under what I thought was just a bonkers ride, to be honest. He didn't need to be doing that. He should have just been focusing on his own race rather than what was happening over the far side with the 2 French horses. But with that in mind, I feel if he had waited and given the horse a better ride, he probably finishes second to Charon. I don't think he beats Charon. I think Charon would have still got past Audience. But I think he holds on and beats Docklands, Maljoom and Witch Hunter. And I feel that there is a race in Audience again. I don't think it was a bad effort. Still only faded to 5th. Still beat the likes of Delali, Brave Emperor, Big Rock, Flight Plan, Poker Face. Where do you go? I think you go back to Ascot to prove that wasn't Audience at full potential. You run in the Summer Mile. It's a Group 2. So not a Group 1 race. I think you'll see a lot of these against Audience. You might see Docklands, Maljoom, Witch Hunter, Cairo, horses like that. But on their own, I would back Audience to beat them. It's just that he tried to skip away from... I think whether he tried to skip away from Charon and thought I can outstay him, I don't know what the actual plan was by Rab Havlin, but I thought it was a really poor ride. If he runs in the Summer Mile, unless we get something stupid turn up in the group, a Group 1 horse turn up in a Group 2, I think Audience could go very close at Ascot in a few weeks' time to prove that the running on Tuesday was not his true running, and he is better than that. He's not as good as Charon, but he's definitely better than a 5th place position. Moving on to the 305, the Coventry Stakes, won by Rashabar, a massive price at 80 to 1. Well done to, I think it was Ben Limfoot who found that. I don't mind Ben. I think he's pretty knowledgeable, and he's got his analysis is always pretty good, and I think he's relatively fair in terms of claims prices that are available. There's a few tipsters out there that claim prices that were not available, or they work for a bookmaker, and that bookmaker leaves the horse a little bit bigger just so that they can tip it up, and then they shorten it. For me, that's not right. And yeah, anyway, Who's the eye catcher in this race for me? It's Electrolyte. Finished second. I probably feel Electrolyte was better than Rashabar. I think Electrolyte should have won. Didn't get the clearest of runs. Had to switch late on from there was a switch late on from Holly Doyle. Now Archie Watson's horse has gone off 2-1 favourite. As I mentioned throughout the week, horses that are for smaller trainers that go off quite short on debut generally turn out to be quite good. I think we had Leo Varney. We also had there was something else that I can't think of. It was went off 4-7. Was it Fairy Godmother? Went off 4-7 on debut, and has then come out and won comfortably. But yeah, especially when they're with smaller trainers, obviously Fairy Godmother's Aidan O'Brien. But when they're with smaller trainers and they go off that short price and they can win, they do generally turn out to be pretty good. Now, where do you go with Electrolyte? I thought he was so strong in the finish. Surely they've got to step him up and go for this Superlative Stakes, the Group 2 at Newmarket on the 13th of July, over 7 furlongs. Just get that extra bit of that extra trip for Electrolyte. I think he'll run a really big race here, to be honest. And if they were over 7, I wouldn't be worried about Rashabar. I think he beats Rashabar. I wouldn't be worried a lot of them. It's whether Aidan O'Brien sends something over for that 7 furlong race and takes all the beating in it. What is the Superlative? Is it just for 2-year-olds? It is just for 2-year-olds. So you could well see, I guess, Bedtime Story running that. Okay, Bedtime Story would be very hard to beat if they think Bedtime Story is of the same sort of level as City of Troy, who won this race. But yeah, I really like Electrolyte, especially if it runs in the Superlative next time. I thought that was a very good effort. Archie Watson has now had second in the last 2 runnings of the Coventry Stakes, losing by like a nose and a neck in those 2 years. So clearly a trainer that knows what to do in the Coventry. Moving on to the 345, the King Charles III Stakes, the Group 1 over 5 furlongs. And to be honest, I don't think the best horses won this race. We were frustrated in the fact that 2 runs ago now for Asfura, we said, I believe there's 2 group horses running at, where was it running? At Haydock. And they were Live in the Moment or Dream. It's one of those 2, isn't it? Always forget which way round it is. They've got a top class sprinter and they've got a very good handicapper. Let's have a look. Who was it? Live in the Dream is the group sprinter. And I said to Live in the Dream and Asfura. And we went for Asfura that day. We got it wrong. Asfura then came to Ascot and proved that maybe Asfura is a Group 1 horse. I don't think Regional is, but I do think Big Evs is. And if you watch the race, he was over the far side with a bigger group, but maybe he's just been pushed along a little bit too much. There was quite a few kind of right behind him, whilst Asfura and Regional may have been ridden a little bit more economically, and they've come through late on to pick him up. Really like Big Evs still going forward. I hope we see Big Evs drop down for the Coral Charge. Where is it? This race here. It's a Group 3 over 5 furlongs, just to get him back to winning ways. He's a super fast horse early on, so Sandown will really suit. And I think that's a beautiful prep run that would be for the Nunthorpe, which is where I think we'll see Big Evs now. Aiming at that Nunthorpe, I think he's all about speed. He doesn't stay any further than 5.5 furlongs, in my opinion, or doesn't need to stay any further than 5.5 furlongs. Go for the Coral Charge, get that under your belt. I think he is even carrying the penalty, I think he would win that, and then go for the Nunthorpe, and then probably back to France for the L'Abbaye. So yeah, the Coral Charge for Big Evs. Moving on to the 425, the St James's Palace Stakes. I thought there was a fantastic ride here on Henry Longfellow. I thought Ryan Moore did absolutely everything right and everything he possibly could to win this race. He just wasn't good enough. Rosalian was too good. I wouldn't be that interested in anything behind. Notable Speech was clearly disappointing. Charlie Appleby's horses generally ran quite poorly at Ascot. Rosalian's obviously going to go off favourite next time. It's probably going to they might step that up in trip. They might go for the Paddington route, maybe see it in something like the Eclipse or something like that. Might stay over a mile, keep winning those races over a mile. I think he is probably He's better than Henry Longfellow. I think he's better than Hartem. And who won the 2000 Guineas? It wasn't Charon, was it? No. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, miler at this stage as a 3-year-old. So what do you do with Henry Longfellow? I think that was a really good effort from Henry Longfellow. I would love to see him go here for the Prix Jean Prat, which is a mile... no, it's not. It's a 7 furlong race for the Colts and the fillies, the 3-year-old Colts and fillies, at Deauville. I'm saying it's Deauville. Is it Deauville? Yes, at Deauville. Aidan O'Brien actually won this 2 years ago with Tenebrism. Last year he ran Meditate. So interestingly, is Meditate a colt or a filly? Filly. So he's ran fillies in the last 2 runnings of the race in France. I feel he might run this colt, to be honest. I think he might run Henry Longfellow. Drop back slightly in trip. Go for 7. You'll know that it stays, all of that. And to be fair, he's actually been beaten both times he's run over a mile. But he was 3 from 3 over 7. So why not drop back down to 7 furlongs? Use that little bit of stamina they do have towards the finish. Over 7 you will. And yeah, I think the Prix Jean Prat is a race that Aidan O'Brien should really be targeting with Henry Longfellow. I think he's still very, very good. I think Rosalian is also very, very good. And they were clear of the rest. Moving on to the 505, the Ascot Stakes over 2.5 mile. And the horse that caught my eye here was the 4th placed Get Shirty. I don't think this trip quite suits. I don't think the 2.5 mile trip suits. The horse had never been further than 2 mile before. That was at Meydan, albeit in a Group 2, but finished last. Actually finished 5th of 6th before in a Doncaster Cup. I don't think this trip is ideal. I think the trip that's ideal is about 1 mile and 4, 1 mile and 6. Now, the thing with Get Shirty is the horse is dropping in the handicap. This time last season, when he ran in the Copper Horse, he ran off 105. And he didn't run badly. He was 9th, beaten 14 lengths, but that was behind Vauban. And Vauban was 7 lengths clear of second himself. So he was only 7 lengths behind second, finishing 9th, off a mark of 105. Now, he ran last week off a mark of 90, and I thought this was a really good effort, to be fair. Finished behind our top-rated horse. The other 2, Divine Comedy and Kyle of Lacouche, both had big chances. And Get Shirty was just a bit slowly away, didn't really get into it. And then I think he kind of ran on through beaten horses. But it'd be interesting to see what the handicapper does. Say he left him on 90. I'd love to see him go back for this Old Newton Cup. Over 1 mile and just short of 1 mile and 4. He's actually ran in this race before. In July 2022. And he won it off a mark of 105. So if he can win off 105, why on earth would you not run the horse off a significantly lower mark of just 90? You know that the horse can run well at Haydock. Okay, last time it ran at Haydock, it didn't run particularly well. It was 7th in an Old Borough Cup. 7th of 14. But that came off a mark of 90. Off a mark of 100. You know, £10 lower. Back at Haydock. I think Get Shirty could be very, very interesting. If they drop in trip and ride him a little bit more positively. He looks very well handicapped. And I thought that was a good effort at Ascot to finish 4th. So yeah, the 6th of July, there is the Old Newton Cup over 1 mile and 4 at Haydock. The 540, Israel won it. Nothing really caught my eye in the race in terms of those from behind. Quite a boring race for me. The 6:15, the Copper Horse Handicap. Now, a horse did catch my eye in this race. And I just wonder whether they might be quite pleased with how it ended up. That horse that caught my eye was Alcacib, who finished 4th. Was quite well supported into 11-2. Carried a lot of weight, 9 stone 12. Is a highly rated horse, for sure. Just a 4-year-old, rated 105. Went all the way around the outside. Finished a never nearer 2.5 lengths 4th to Bellocchio. I think his form is pretty good, though. If we go back like last season, he was winning races. He won at Ascot in a Lavazza handicap. Then went to Newmarket, won the Old Rowley Cup. went off 130 favourite that day. That came off 96. Then went to Doha for a local Group 1 at the Qatar Derby. Didn't work. And this season he's come back in a Group 3 where he finished 6th of 10, beaten 5 lengths by Hamish. Halish, Al Kareem, Salt Bay, Certain Lad, Chess were in front. He beat Arrest that day. And then last time out, or the time before last, he was third in the Ormond Stakes behind Point Lonsdale and Arrest. Both very good horses. Both group horses for sure. Point Lonsdale, I don't think he's come back out since. Was finishing 6th at Meydan in a Group 1. He's probably Group 2 class, I would suggest that Point Lonsdale is. Whereas Arrest might be Group 1, things didn't quite go to plan at Chester. If not, he's a Group 2 horse. Second in a St Ledger before, has won a Group 3 at Newbury. So I think Al-Saqib finishing third was a very good effort over a mile and 5 at Chester. And I don't think it was the worst run at Ascot in a handicap of 105. Surely you've got to be saving him for this race now. The Ebor. The very lucrative Ebor. You get a better draw and you don't get hampered and you don't end up going all the way around the outside. Andrew Balding could have a nice one here for the Ebor. Rated 105, so guaranteed to get in at the moment. If the handicapper drops him £1 or £2 for that run, great. If he leaves him alone, I'd still be quite confident of a big run in the Ebor, and I hope they target that. He has been seen by a few people, hence they've priced him up at 14s and 10s. But he's definitely one that I think you should be adding to your nag meet with the Ebor in mind. So a quick recap. Audience should go back to Ascot for the Summer Mile. I'd love to see Electrolyte step up in trip for the Superlative Stakes. I think Big Evs could drop back down to the Coral Charge. I'd say down as in class, down to a Group 3, win the Coral Charge en route to the L'Abbaye. Henry Longfellow for the Prix-Jean Prat. Get Shirty back to Haydock for the Old Newton Cup. And finally, keep an eye out for Al-Saqib being plotted to the Ebor.